listeners of the Milk Roots podcast. This is not Milk Roots speaking. My name is Francis Morris, and Milk Roots is on vacation. You should know that if you listened to the last episode. So, nice to meet you all. Hopefully, it's nice for you to meet me as well. And my brother is joining us today also. Milk Roots lives in another universe, so we had to get to his studio via a portal. There was magic involved. Don't ask me how we did it. I'm wasting too much time right now, but I had to record this. Think of this as like an intro / outro. This is a post recording. I'm recording this days after the actual recording. I just want to say thank you for being here. This is a very special episode. It's very, very long. My brother and I are talking about a lot of stuff. There's going to be music at the end. Stay tuned for some improvisational music, spontaneous music. It's a jam session. I hope you enjoy it. We talked about a lot of deep subjects, and we just barely scratched the surface on topics such as depression, deja vu, spirituality, and meditation. So I think we are definitely going to be recording another episode where we talk more about things like that. Also, some of the stories that we told, I'm sure, are still missing a lot of detail. I mean, a couple of the stories that I told when I was re-listening to myself talking about them while editing, I remembered a lot more details that I forgot to mention. There's this one extraterrestrial encounter that I'm talking about. I mentioned that it happens at night, but as I recall, it actually did happen during the day. And also, when I'm talking about it, it seems like I'm sitting still the whole time, but actually I remember I jumped up at the sight of this creature and started fighting with it. So I just wanted to get that cleared up because I was thinking about that. There is going to be there's going to be more episodes like this, is what I'm saying. Serious episodes with serious topics. However, it's not that serious. There's lots of there's laughter involved. It's my brother and I. We enjoy hanging out. We love talking. Both of us. We love talking a lot. He's better at talking than I am. He goes on and on. I can't wait for. I'm so excited. Please enjoy. Please enjoy. Let's get on with it. Let's go. Here we go. Thank you for clicking on this video. 3, 2, 1. Wow, we're actually here at the Milk Root studio. I can't believe it.
Whoa.
It's way bigger than I imagined.
It is quite big.
I knew Milk Roots was tall, but I didn't think the ceiling would be 300 feet high.
Well, do you think that he's so tall that he needs a tall ceiling, or does he just like to have tall ceilings?
I think he just likes to have tall ceilings because he likes the option to be as big as he wants whenever he wants.
That makes sense. There's no furniture, though.
Yeah, there was a chair. I saw it in a picture at some point.
Okay, well, where is the chair now? Because I have nowhere to sit. Is that funny?
I guess we can sit on the floor.
Okay, I suppose. I expected more, that's all. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I just expected more from him, being this big podcast star and everything. But I don't know the guy. I know you know him.
Yeah, I've only met him a couple times, and he's a really strange guy. He talks in a southern accent whenever we're alone together, and he says that he doesn't have a southern accent. He's like, boy, I don't know what you're talking about. Now quit your doggy-dogging around and let's get on with this game of Chinese checkers.
Well, I mean, technically, if you are living in the South, do you have a southern accent? That's just your regular accent. Or no, I guess everybody has accents, no matter where they are. Because accent is just like the way that you talk, right?
I don't know if he lives in the South.
But I don't understand what that has to do with why he can't provide his guests with comfortable furniture. But it's okay. It's okay. I'll make do.
Hey, it looks like there's some sort of computer panel over by the door. Let's go check it out.
Yeah, let's check it out, man.
Welcome to the Milk Roots Podcast Studio. What can I manifest for you today?
Hi, computer voice.
Hello.
Can you get us 2 chairs, please? Maybe a desk?
2 chairs and 1 desk coming up for you.
All right.
Enjoy the furniture.
Thanks, computer.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I guess we've got this computer thing that just generates whatever we want here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just happy we have some chairs to sit on, so I don't really need anything else. I mean, maybe like a sandwich would be cool. Or like, yeah, you know, some food, like a buffet, like a whole buffet full of like all sorts of different kinds of food from like different countries and like different cuisine from different regions, and also a harem of beautiful women, and I mean some did I say water already? Just a little bit of water, please.
Coming right up, sir.
I didn't think the computer was going to get all that, but
I mean, I guess it's just like how like your smart speakers are like always listening to you all the time and like storing all of your information in the database and then selling it to companies without your permission. And you know, I mean, I feel like that should be illegal, really, but anyway. So what are we gonna talk about?
I don't know, I'm amazed by the amount of food that's in front of us now.
Yeah.
And the women.
Yeah, I mean, the food is pretty nice. I'm not really hungry now, though, now that I think about it.
Yeah, maybe we should take all this away until we need it later and ask for it later.
Okay, hey, computer!
Yes, sir.
I don't want any of this. Can you just get rid of all of this? There's too much. It's too much. It's too much stuff. Please. Just get rid of it.
Of course, sir.
Alright, cool. I mean, I feel like now that we don't have all of this stuff, my mind is a lot more clear, you know? I kind of almost feel like I don't even want the furniture, but it's okay because I'm comfortable, so I mean, let's just get in. So what does Milk Roots want you to talk about on his podcast?
So Milk Roots said that they would have us on here. They just wanted us to take over for the day. I'm the creator of his channel, creator, producer, and editor, and he figured that I would be the best person to take over while he was on vacation. He said something about planting his 6 legs in the ground near an old fishing town.
Okay.
And he said we have free reign to do whatever we want, pretty much.
So does his studio just record everything constantly, or do we have to like press some kind of button and like get the recording? Is it already recording?
I don't know if you noticed, but if you look to your left, there's actually 4 guys with video cameras and recording
fellas.
equipment.
I didn't see you there.
Yeah, they don't talk. I guess they were lobotomized.
Oh, sounds pretty nice, honestly.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad to see all these empty bleachers. I guess there's supposed to be an audience, but there never is.
I saved a drink from the table before they got rid of everything. All right, well, you want to interview me?
Yeah, I'm the host.
All right, so go ask me a question.
You sure do have a lot of tattoos.
Yes.
What do you,
You don't have, do you have any tattoos?
I have 0 tattoos.
I don't have enough. I won't be satisfied until my entire body is completely covered.
Yeah. I've thought about tattoos. There are 2 tattoos that I would have. One would definitely be Kermit the Frog's face on my ankle.
Mm-hmm.
Or a triangle on one of my arms. But then it's just one tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I just think, why? What's the point? You know? That's my main thing. Is like, what's the point?
I mean, what's the point of art? Like, what's the point of drawing a picture? What's the point of making music? You know?
But you're putting a picture on your skin, and then it's there for the rest of your life.
Yes.
And maybe you don't have any regrets about it. But I don't know, just me personally, I just don't want my corpse to have pictures on it. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to get tattoos.
Yeah.
Yeah. I regret a lot of these tattoos. I regret the rings on my arm, the bands I have on my arm. I really regret that.
Those are my favorite.
Really, people like them. I don't.
You could get them redone, but they're still great.
I kind of have a plan to black it out completely. So just be a big black area. I already talked to my tattoo artist. We've been talking about that ever since I met her. I also regret this. It just says I love you, and it was drawn by an ex-girlfriend. And then it was tattooed by a friend of mine who died from a drug overdose. So it's like, I think about both of them every time I see it. Oh, and then also another ex-girlfriend burnt out the V and the E with a lighter. It was consensual, but so, you know, it's tied up with 3 different people who I have difficult memories of. So I regret that, and I regret blacking out my fingers. I did that myself because I had runes tattooed there that I also did myself, and I didn't like them, so I just blacked it out.
Why didn't you like the runes?
I don't know, because they're like, I don't know, because they're kind of like a religious thing.
Right.
And I don't practice any religion that uses runes, and so it just felt like strange to have them on my body. Like, it would be strange to have like a cross on my body because I'm not Christian, or to have like a Star of David or something almost. I mean, not the runes, not to that degree with the runes, but you know what I mean? Like, I didn't connect with it. and I was in a really, really bad state of mind when I was tattooing, when I was doing stick and pokes all over myself. Like, I just wasn't in the best. My mental health was really poor, so I made decisions that I later regretted, I guess. Yeah.
So that's something about tattoos. Most of the people that have them, they're reckless people a lot of the time, it seems.
Yeah, I think it takes a certain amount of recklessness, or just like carelessness, or like carelessness in the sense of like making decisions without considering the consequences, or like not caring about the consequences at all. I mean, people get tattoos for different reasons, and there's all sorts of different people. So I forget what did you just say that made me say that?
I said, yeah, people with tattoos tend to be like reckless people.
Oh yeah, right.
All the ones that I've met, at least.
Yeah, I feel like it used to be a sign of I mean, it used to be associated with criminals, and then later, like, with counterculture and subculture, and it was really tied up in that. Like, if you were getting tattoos and showing them off, like, you were saying something about yourself. Like, you were saying, like, I'm a dangerous person, I'm a reckless person, I'm not like you, I'm different than you, I'm from a different culture, I'm from the subculture, I'm from the criminal underground. It was more of like a statement, and then it kind of like, it leached into music, and it became like really synonymous with like punk rock and like that kind of counterculture. But then like by the 90s, it just started becoming really popular, and now I feel like it doesn't mean anything at all to have tattoos. Like, everybody has tattoos. Like, people have their faces all tatted up, and like, it's just like something people do. I feel like at some point, everybody on at least everybody in America or the United States will all be tattooed, because like everybody that doesn't have tattoos now, when they die off, there's so many people that do have tattoos that it'll just be a common thing that everybody has, like at least one tattoo.
That'd be cool. It's cool to think about. It's like cyberpunk future. People are gonna have tattoos that people already have tattoos, like glow in the dark and crazy stuff like that. People can have tattoos that have like lights that stream through them. Well, you know, there's going to be androids that around that time period, the time period that I'm thinking of. Maybe
there would probably be tattoos that have like microchips in them that like do things.
That's kind of already a thing too. Or like scannable tattoos. That's a thing. Yeah, it's crazy. But I just want Kermit the Frog on my ankle. However, I don't want to spend the money on it, and it just seems like a waste of time and money, and then that part of my skin will never be visible again. It's gonna be a picture of Kermit the Frog.
Yeah, I think it's hard for somebody who doesn't have tattoos to like understand what it's like to get tattooed and have a tattoo. Like, it can be like a religious experience to be tattooed. Like, you're surrendering yourself completely to the artist, and you're consenting to them harming you for possibly several hours straight, and that requires a lot of trust. And when you let go like that, you kind of like, it's almost like meditating or something. It's like, it's a really interesting experience to have, especially with more intricate and more painful tattoos. There's some tattoos on my body that during the process of it, I like really just let go. Like, it's so hard to explain. It's like trying to explain like an acid trip to someone who's never taken LSD before or something like that.
Right.
But then you have this mark on your body that was like, it's representative of that state of mind. So it's like a connection to that deeper part of your mind that you were able to access while getting tattooed. And then also, depending on your tattoos, like all of my stick and poke stuff, like I have a little cat. Well, I have 2 cats on my knees that I did myself with a needle. Like, I was, like I said before, I was doing that in a really poor state of mind. So I have a lot of like, that kind of emotion is wrapped up in it, like what I was experiencing then. But then when I got my life together and I was doing better, I started getting good tattoos from good artists. And so like that, like all of the really beautiful work I have on my body is like representative of me, of a change in my life, like a new chapter of my life. So like, I think that that's a really big reason why people get tattoos, is just to like represent something meaningful to them. You know, even if the tattoo doesn't have a meaning, like my tattoos don't really have meanings. They do, but more in like an ambiguous sense. It's not like directly tied to anything really specifically, except for that emotion and state of mind. Most of my tattoos are for my cats. Like I have a bumblebee, that's for bee. I have a snake for snack. What else? Oh, I have a fox for Dinah, because she's like my little fox. What else do I have? Oh, and this was for our rabbit Jello. I got a rabbit for him. And then the moth is for Jen, because she really likes moths. And then I have Bella Lugosi for Bella. But then at the same time, they're just animals that I like too. So it's not like dependent on the meaning, you know?
Well, they're pretty sweet. Pretty cool.
What else do you want to talk about?
So, do you want to talk about that time we both heard a ghost voice at our dad's apartment?
Yeah.
Many years ago?
Yeah.
I think I was like maybe 9 or maybe 12 years old.
Yeah. Well, so you're 4 years younger than me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, because I think I was like 14, so you must have been like 10 or 11.
Yeah, that was crazy. I think about it all the time. That was one of the most vivid ghost encounters that I feel like I've ever had.
Haven't you seen like full apparitions before?
I feel like I have, but visual stuff is so much different. And also, both of us have experienced hearing voices in our head, but still that was completely different. We both heard it like almost right next to us, like another person was in the room. And we both turned to each other like right after it. We stopped talking about what we were talking about, and we both just looked at each other and said, like, did you just hear that?
Yeah, it was really strange. I don't think I've ever had a shared paranormal experience. I did have one with Dustin when we were in high school, we think. I mean, we're still pretty sure to this day that we saw an alien in town at the farm.
Was that, you said Dustin?
Yeah,
Was
Dustin.
that-
My friend Dustin from high school.
Dustin, the guy we play guitar with?
Yes.
Yeah. was that way back when there was like a recording of an alien in like the window of a farm? Because I remember that being a story.
Yeah.
You guys had a recording of it.
Yeah, it was actually, it was the same night actually, but that image that looked like a face in the video, we didn't really notice until we reviewed the video. So it's not something that we saw as it was happening, and I don't think that is very good evidence of anything, honestly. I mean, I haven't seen it in like 20 years, but I mean, we were kids and we really wanted to see something, but
It was probably really grainy too.
I think it was probably just a cow or something, because there was a ton of cows in there. But
Yeah.
we didn't get this on camera, but before we got that footage, I'm pretty sure it was the same night, we were walking by the same farm, and we were walking past the cow barn or whatever, like like the milk house or whatever, where they kept the cows, and the building the cows were in was probably at least 10 feet high. And we both swear that we saw like a very long, like human looking, like shadow walk behind it. It went from the corner, came from the corner somewhere, and then it walked behind it, and its head was taller than the building itself. So the thing that we saw would have had to have been like maybe 11 feet tall. It was really strange, but I mean, we were trying to have a paranormal experience all night, so like maybe we just opened ourselves up to have like a kind of like a shared hallucinatory experience. But so it's very different than when we heard the ghost at Dad's, because that was just an undeniable random paranormal occurrence that we both experienced. And
Yeah.
I still don't know I still like try to come up with an idea of what it could have been other than a ghost.
It's just that there was no TV on. There weren't any other sounds. There weren't any voices coming from other apartments, and that voice was like right next to us.
Yeah, and Stephanie was asleep. I thought I heard it, so
I don't even remember Stephanie being there.
yeah, well, we were all there, and she was asleep on the couch. Because I remember...
What if it was Stephanie talking in her sleep?
No, it didn't sound like her.
Right, no,
it did not sound like her. It didn't sound like anybody that I know. But we should tell the listeners what we actually heard, because we were talking about... we didn't want to be there. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact conversation we were having.
We were talking about not wanting to be there, and talking about maybe calling Mom or something and having someone pick us up in the middle of the night, because we really didn't want to be there. And one of us must have suggested like, why don't we call Mom? And one of us, I think it was me, maybe you, well, one of us said, well, I don't want to do that to Daddy. Must have been you, because you were still a kid, so you probably still called him Daddy.
Yeah.
And then we heard the voice clear as day go, do what to Daddy? And we both looked at, like, we just looked at each other like we didn't even have to ask, did you hear that? I think we did, but I mean, it's like, we just knew we heard it.
Yeah.
Like,
I just got a shiver thinking about it again.
Yeah, I always get a really weird feeling when I talk about paranormal experiences that I've had. I've had several, but so that's why I was thinking about this the other day, and I was gonna call you or text you, but I wasn't able to, and say that I realized that I've had several paranormal experiences that, like, I consider, like, unexplainable, that I couldn't explain away. And all of them happened while we still had a relationship with Dad, while he was in our lives, while he lived with us. And I started thinking that what if he is like haunted, or he has some kind of like opening around him that like allows these other beings in, or he somehow has these beings like attached to him.
So, do you think they could have followed us?
I don't know. Like I have
I feel like I've had a lot of strange, like, paranormal and supernatural experiences on my own.
Yeah, well, also there's we've had them together. So I mean, maybe it is possible that one of them or some of them or some of it attached to you, because I haven't had really any that I would say like, I mean, I've had strange experiences, but nothing like the last strange thing we had happened together when I was staying with you in your house.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that also.
Yeah.
I was going to bring that up next. Because that was also one of the craziest things that's happened to me.
Well, I was standing in the kitchen, and I was about to fill a glass up with water from the tap, and I just like, it's not like I blacked out, it's like it was just like there was a cut, like cutting film or something. Like I was filling up the water, and then it just cut to, I don't know how long, like time had passed, but it just was cut out, and I was still standing in the sink, and the cup was overflowing with water, and I was trying to get my bearings and try to understand what just happened. And I turned around, and I saw some kind of being, like a Men in Black, like standard, like gray alien, like pale, small, like short, like pale, short
That's
being.
scary.
And it looked at me, and I was just staring at it like I thought maybe I like passed out or something, and I was dreaming. Like I couldn't understand it, and it smiled at me, and its smile just took up like its entire face, and it kind of like, you know, his whole face just like went up with his smile, and then he started like transporting to other parts of the living room, like just instantly like moving around and like smiling, and I feel like he was laughing, but I don't remember hearing any laughing, but it was almost some kind of strange like trickster spirit. And then I time cut again. Did I ever explain all this to you at any point before?
I don't remember this much detail because you were really shaky and
Yeah.
you couldn't really talk afterward.
Well, time cut again, and I was laying on the floor next to your room, and I was screaming, like when you wake up from a horrible night terror, and I just couldn't stop screaming, and I was trying to get your attention, and then you came out of the room, and you said that you were having a dream that was similar to the experience that I was having. I don't know, can you take it from there? Because I don't really know it from your perspective.
So, you said that, let me start from me sleeping.
Okay.
So, it's hard for me to talk about, like, anything, like, without my voice getting shaky and stuff gets, like, serious.
Yeah. I'm getting shaky too. I mean, maybe that's why I've been so shaky, because I knew we were going to talk about this stuff. I try not to think about it too much.
Yeah, well,
It really affected me.
that house. There's so much I can say about that house. But anyway, so I went to sleep that night, and like within 5 minutes, I was in a deep sleep, and I was having like a lucid dream. I wish it wasn't so hard for me to talk right now. I gotta breathe.
We can talk about it later, or not at all.
Okay, so we took a little break. Starting back from where we left off. I had just gone to sleep, and as soon as I went to sleep, I started having this lucid dream where I was in the backyard, and I started walking towards the back door of the garage, and I felt compelled to go into the garage for some reason. But as soon as I got to the door, it just started opening and closing, slamming shut over and over again. And it was scary, and I woke up. And I woke up to the sound of you screaming. So I ran out into the kitchen, and you were on the floor, just like freaking out, panicking, and trying to explain to me what happened. And I feel like the first thing I remember you telling me was that you blacked out, and then suddenly you were stuck in the front door. You were like stuck between
the kitchen and the living room.
I remember you saying that you were stuck between the two front doors, and that they were opening and closing really fast on you. So that's why I felt like the dream that I had was connected to whatever was happening to you.
Yeah.
Because we both experienced this door opening and closing.
I remember now.
But
yeah, you just unlocked like a whole piece of it that I just blocked out, I guess. Because I remember I tried to get away. I tried to leave the house, like, out of fear. I just tried to run out of the house. Like, I felt like I can't be in this house. I need to get out of here.
I wish you had tried to go into my room.
I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like I was really in control of what was happening. Like, I was just, like, watching it all happen. Like, the way that when you're having, like, a non-lucid dream, that like, just a regular dream, like, you're watching yourself doing things, and you're not really controlling what you're doing. Like, I felt like I was dreaming, like, but I was awake. Like, I knew I was awake. It was very strange, but I tried to get out of the house, and I could see, like, I opened the doors and I could see the pathway leading to the road, and I tried to run to it, but it, like, got further away as I stepped closer, and then the front door, like, slammed in my face, and then the back door, they, like, closed me in. They slammed me in, and I guess that's when I woke up on the floor, I guess.
And also screaming.
And screaming, yeah, because I was trying to, I think I was screaming to try to get your attention, because I needed help. But you didn't see these beings in your dream?
So, yeah, let me go back to the dream. I was in the backyard. I felt compelled to go towards the garage, through the back door of the garage. And I felt like a presence in the backyard with me was willing me to go into the garage for some reason. Either that or, okay, now I'm remembering. I was in the backyard. I felt the presence. I wanted to go into the garage to get away from it.
Okay.
And the door started opening and closing, slamming shut, not allowing me to go through it. And that's when I woke up to you screaming. But the alien that you described, the first night that I ever spent the night there, I didn't even have my bed in there yet, so I was sleeping on the couch that I brought in. And you remember the door that was behind the fridge that led to the back of the fridge? It was like a closet in the living room, but if you open it up, it's just the back of the fridge.
Vaguely.
But there's space in there.
Yeah.
So the first night that I went to sleep there, I woke up. You can call it a dream or not, but I woke up. I was hearing noises or voices or something, and I woke up and that door opens and a short, stereotypical gray alien with a big head comes out of it, and he's kind of like, I don't know, panicking, or like he wasn't expecting me to be there.
Okay.
Or something. He's just like, he opens the door, and he comes towards me with his hands out. And it just goes black from there, and then I woke up again.
Where did you wake up?
Well, I was still on the couch.
Okay.
But it was like, okay, I guess I didn't just wake up. I guess that was a dream.
Yeah,
But-
that's exactly what it felt like for me. Like I blacked out and I woke up and saw the alien, and that's when all the stuff happened. Like, and then I blacked out again, and I was just where I was. Well, I fell to the floor, I suppose. It's really hard to remember it. Like, even directly after it was really hard to remember everything that happened. Was the alien wearing any kind of clothing when you first saw it?
No, it was a naked little gray man with no genitals.
This one, what I saw is exactly the same as what you saw, but I remember it wearing like a suit, like a Men in Black suit. But it was also able to like change form. I don't want to get the story too convoluted, but I remember thinking at first that it was you, because it kind of looked like you a little, I guess, or maybe it just felt like you, but it was clearly able to change form if it wanted to, or at least make me perceive it in another way somehow, through some kind of like mind control technique or something. So I had the feeling that afterward I had the feeling that the suit was just like something it was projecting onto itself to like be in line with some kind of image in my mind, like for whatever reason. I don't know.
The suit?
The suit, like I thought maybe the creature, the alien,
the suit he was wearing had the ability to...
No, but he had the ability to make me perceive him, or it any way that it wanted to. And so in reality, in this dimension that he was in, he was nude, right? But he was making me perceive him to be wearing a suit for some reason.
interesting. And also, you were the first person to come in and live there after me, like with intention of living there. Like I've had people stay over before, but and wasn't that like the first night?
No, it wasn't the first night, but it was.
Right.
It was probably within the first week or so, I think.
I think whatever lives in that house or in that on that property doesn't like people living on it or something like that. Or you mentioned like a trickster spirit, like yeah, lots of like just like weird stuff happened to me living there. Have I ever told you about the time it was Valentine's Day and I put a plate of Hershey's Kisses out in the living room? It was a full bag of Hershey's Kisses, dumped it on a plate, set it on a table in the living room, right next to the front door. The front door was locked, and Autumn and I went to sleep, and I woke up before her, and I go out in the living room, and they had vanished completely overnight without a trace. I couldn't find, there's no wrappers anywhere. There's no way that anything, if an animal had done it, it would have left something behind. But I looked in the vents. I didn't see anything in the vents, and the door was locked, and yeah, and it's a weird random thing, but
and Autumn was your partner at the time?
Yeah,
for the listeners.
Right.
And what did she say?
She was terrified, and
so she experienced it as well.
Right, yeah. If she has the story also in her head. I mean, from her perspective, it's the same from her perspective. She goes to sleep and wakes up, where are the Hershey's Kisses? Except I was awake before her, so she thinks I'm messing with her around like 3 p.m. She's like, you're really not messing with me? I'm like, no, like, cause we both freaked out about it and then forgot about it for hours, but she didn't actually forget about it. She's like, you're really not messing with me? Where are those Hershey's Kisses? I'm like, I'm telling you, vanished overnight.
Well, I had 2 more very notable experiences in that house that I don't think I ever told you about either of them, because the first one was horrifying. Do you want to hear about it, or is it gonna be too much?
I'd love to hear about it.
Okay, so the first experience, this was very shortly before I left, stopped living there. It was right after the shared experience. We had like maybe just a few days afterwards, and I never told you about it, or I don't think I have, because I didn't want to scare you. But the same kind of thing happened to me. I fell asleep, and I was drinking a little bit that night. So, I mean, I've never hallucinated on alcohol, so I don't think that has anything to do with it. But my memory's a little foggy. I was basically
sober back then.
Yeah, you were sober. I was drinking a lot, among other things, and so my memory is a little foggy. But I kind of blacked out. Like maybe I had too much to drink, even though I only had a few beers really at that point. But that's what it felt like, right? And I guess it's just hard for me to get into the story because it's really terrifying, so I'm gerrymandering a little bit. Or no, filibustering. Anyway, so I'll get back into it. So, alright, so I have the blackout experience that we've both had there. This time I wake up, and I'm laying on the floor, and I couldn't move my body. I was completely paralyzed, and I really thought I was awake. I don't know where I was. but it was a very real experience. And there was this creature standing above me. It was like almost like a lizard, it almost looked like a Skeksis, but from the Dark Crystal, the very vulture bird-like creatures, except its beak was more of like an alligator snout, and it was humanoid at the same time. And it's hard to describe, but just imagine like an alien being, like a reptilian alien, let's say. It was standing above me, and it was doing something in my ear. It was making this horrible grating noise in my ear, like sharpening a pencil. And the noise was getting really, really loud, and it was like filling my mind, and it was causing me like significant like pain, like throughout my body. And it was like snickering. And the more afraid, the more scared I got, the more it would snicker. And I was able to then look around, and I saw those gray beings. This time they were not wearing suits. They were just exactly how you would imagine a gray alien, but there were several of them, and they were all standing around watching me. And there was this just really bright light in the room, and they were getting more and more excitable the more that I was suffering. Or I don't want to be too dramatic about it, but the more afraid, the more fear I had inside of me, the more excited they would get. And then a friend of mine, and I don't want to say his name here, but he opened the door, because I was staying in the back room where the back door was, and he quietly opened the door, and he came in and he put his hand on my back because he could see that I was having a bad dream or something, and he woke me up. So this time I'm really awake. I'm back in objective reality world, and he wanted to hang out, and he asked me what was wrong, and I told him I just had some kind of nightmare or something. And he sat with me for a minute, and he rubbed my back, and he's like, all right, buddy, it looks like maybe you had too much to drink tonight. Like, maybe you need to just go to sleep, and we'll talk in the morning, all right? And then he left, and then I fell asleep, and I mean, that's the end of the story. I don't know. It didn't feel like I was having a dream. And it was so similar to the other experience that I couldn't count it off as just a dream. And I never have been able to. And it makes me sound crazy to even talk about it. And I'm sure the average person would think that I had some kind of like schizophrenic break or something. I don't know.
It sounds like a psychedelic. It sounds like a trip.
Yeah, I wasn't on any psychedelics though. If I had been, then I wouldn't think that much of it. It wouldn't bother me, because strange things happen when you're on psychedelics. But I was not.
Yeah.
And I wasn't. I hadn't taken any drugs or any. All I did was drink. I was drinking. I had some beer. I'm pretty sure I had beer like stashed under the futon, and like a 6-pack or something. But I wasn't even drunk, so I've never been able to write it off. But then after that, I got obsessed with aliens for a while. I was becoming like a crazy alien conspiracy guy in my head for a bit. And I was researching aliens constantly, and I was getting more and more into it, and fixating on it, because I'd be reading these abduction accounts, and they were so similar to what I experienced. The time loss, the lights, the being paralyzed, the having beings run weird experiments on you, and then waking back up with missing time, and the descriptions of the aliens, and getting into alien species lore, and through that I was learning that there is, in the lore, there is this reptilian species of alien that feeds off of your fear, and they'll abduct people and they'll put them through these horrifying situations because they somehow get like high off your fear or something strange like that. And I don't buy into all that stuff, but it's pretty strange how similar it was to exactly what I experienced. Like,
And that was on Fuller Road?
is that where you lived, Fuller Road?
Yeah.
Yeah. In your house?
Yeah.
And then right before I left, honestly, maybe a day before I left, because Mom came and picked me up after this happened. I was there alone. These two stories I just told had already happened. It's been maybe a few days. All of this kind of happened within a very short span of time. I was home alone, and I heard a friend of mine and an acquaintance talking in the basement, loud and very clear. And since it was the same friend that came over and helped me get back to sleep that night, so it wouldn't be too strange to me. He was also a weird guy, so I don't know if maybe he came over to see me for some reason. He went in the basement for some reason. I don't know. It made sense in my head, though. I wasn't too worried about it. I was just like, oh, my friend's here. But then I'm listening to this conversation that they're having, and they're talking about me, and they're starting to say some really hurtful things, and their voices are sounding very strange, like it's not even them, like it's like a recording of them or something. I was having a mental breakdown. I felt like I was having a break. Didn't make any sense. And I realized it wasn't them. It was something pretending to be them or something like that. I got this idea in my head that this was related to the other experiences, and I had a serious mental breakdown.
Did the voices just fade out?
Well, what happened was I had a mental breakdown. I felt at that point I needed to go to the mental hospital because I wasn't okay with what was happening to me. And I called Mom, and I told her what was happening. And she came over and looked in the basement for me to prove that there was nobody in there, or to at least check to see if someone was messing with me. And there was nobody in there, and the voices stopped. And she told me to pack my stuff and come stay with her. And as we were leaving, as I crossed the threshold of the front door, I saw this flash of light, and felt like I was being pulled back into the house, or I had this strange, something wanted me to stay. And I just kept having a breakdown right then and there, and I think I started crying, and Mom just put me in the car, and yeah, I don't know. I don't think I ever spent another night there in that house after that. And Mom had, when we were younger, Mom had a lot of mental health issues that she was dealing with, and I don't know how well you remember it, but she had very strange and scary experiences happen to her when we were little kids. And she later told me that what I was experiencing during that time was the same kind of thing she was experiencing when we were kids, and she was worried that I was having a mental break, because she did for a while, and she needed help. So she was really worried about my mental health at that point, and I think probably worried that she has a mental disorder that is hereditary or something, which I suppose could be possible. But what's really interesting to me is how similar all of these experiences are. And you know, I've been in the mental hospital for unrelated events, and I have been examined several times by psychiatrists and doctors, and I've been through the system in so many ways. You know, I've been property of the state for a long period of my life because of criminal offenses and mental health disorders creating these issues in my life, and I've never been diagnosed with schizophrenia or like manic depressive disorder or anything aside from just like severe depression. I've been diagnosed.
Well, maybe you haven't been diagnosed for that because no one's looking for that specifically.
Well, they ask you questions about things like this. And I've told doctors that I've heard voices and had strange experiences, and they've never diagnosed me for some. I mean, maybe they're misdiagnosing me. Maybe they're not understanding.
I think they pass stuff off a lot. Like almost everybody uses the expression like voices in my head, but they don't even know what they're saying compared to people who actually have voices in their head, because they're just talking about their inner monologue.
Yeah.
So like, and like if a cop is talking to someone who seems relatively normal and he uses the term like voices in my head, the cop's probably gonna think that he's talking about his inner monologue or something like that, because everybody uses that term at some point or another. But I was under the impression that like mom does have some mild form of schizophrenia and that it's hereditary, because I thought that we all had mild schizophrenia of some kind.
Yeah, but these experiences don't fully align with that diagnosis. For one thing, and it is a spectrum, but for one thing, schizophrenic hallucinations, for someone with schizophrenia while they're having these experiences, it's uncommon for them to realize that it's strange. Like I had a friend who was schizophrenic when I was an outpatient, and he would see and hear things constantly while we were hanging out that weren't really there, but he thought they were. And I mean, he was a really bad case, and I never tried to convince him they weren't real. But you know, he could like introduce me to somebody who wasn't there, and I would just play along because it was just better for him if I just went along with it and I didn't judge him or challenge his reality. I think that is a good approach. But
yeah,
I mean, I don't know. It is a spectrum. It's just strange how similar all the experiences are. They're not unique to our individual selves. They are shared. They're shared amongst us. Like, could a schizophrenia diagnosis be responsible for the voice we heard at Dad's house? Like, we shared that experience together.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know. Maybe sometimes people are so connected that something like that could happen. I don't know. But I mean, I know for a fact there's mental health issues in our family for sure. And mom, I think mom does deal with some serious mental health issues. And I'm sure that they are hereditary. But I mean, at the same time, we have these experiences, and we're still real to us.
Well, I mean, I still have voices in my head.
Yeah, and I hear things as well. So I don't know. Maybe it's just mental health. Maybe it discounts everything that we experienced, or maybe it at least explains everything we experienced, and maybe it's not paranormal. maybe it's just all in our heads, but it's strange either way, and it has affected me greatly either way. I've been very affected by these experiences.
I don't even want to talk about the stuff that's been happening in my head over the past few years. It's like really scary. Have you ever, you know about exploding head syndrome? Have you heard about that? When people hear extremely loud noises?
Yeah.
Have you experienced that at all?
That happens to me. I have a different context for it, though.
Have you ever, this one time, I woke up to the sound of insane jazz music playing in my ears. And I knew it was a hallucination, and it just kept getting louder and louder the more I tried to push it away. And it got so loud to the point where I was like, how do my ears still work after that? How did my head just not explode? That was like severely loud. like indescribable. Like but in your head. And then or there's like bangs or like fireworks, stuff like that. But the voices that I've heard are, they've basically stopped over like the past year, I guess, because I stopped giving them attention. And now it's like the only time I ever hear a voice, it's usually just saying hello or hi. It's trying to get my attention, and I just ignore it.
I hear voices and stuff like that too. It just doesn't bother me though. It's not upsetting to me at all. But I experience it daily. I just don't know. I still just don't know if this specific kind of experience is explained by mild schizophrenia. I feel like there's other symptoms involved in the diagnosis that we don't have, but you know, I don't know. I hear music a lot. I have trouble with white noise. If there's a significant amount of white noise, I hear voices or music in it. Sometimes they say things to me. Most of the time, there's just multiple voices talking to each other about things that are completely irrelevant.
Right.
Irrelevant to me.
Right.
I wake up to voices.
That's when I was writing them down in a journal. It was all just the random stuff. But then I stopped because it started getting personal. They started saying just mean things. There's this one time, I'm pretty sure I can talk about it without crying because I've talked about it 4 times to multiple people. During the time when my deja vu was really, really bad. like every second, every moment, you know. I woke up in the middle of the night and I was just staring towards a painting of mine or something. Staring towards my desk. Still laying in bed, not moving, and I heard a voice say, and it was particularly scary because it was my voice, except it was evil, and it said, "Don't you remember this?" And I replied to it. I'm pretty sure I said out loud, or maybe I said it in my head, but I said, "No, I can't remember something that's currently happening." And then it got really angry with me, and it felt like it was an entity on top of me, and it said really loud in my ear, it was "Yes, you do remember this." and then it just shocked me, and it just stopped. But that was really freaky. I hope the microphone picked up all that to my cracking voice.
Well, I think Milk Roots has some pretty good equipment. I mean, he's got this entire 300-foot ceiling studio with a computer that can manifest anything that you want. But, I mean, okay, maybe... Yeah, it is difficult, and I've been through periods of my life, especially when I was drinking a lot, that my ability to handle it was very, very small, and it has been to a point where it's created very, very challenging times for me, and I've dealt with a lot of suicidal ideation. I mean, ever since I was, I think ever since I knew what suicide was, I thought about killing myself, like even as a child. And I had these experiences as a child to spend my entire life, which is another strange thing, because schizophrenia doesn't usually manifest itself in people until around their early 20s, or at least after they've hit puberty.
Yeah, I remember hearing voices in my head for as long as I can remember.
But Mom used to hear stuff too when we were younger, like especially when I was a baby. She used to wake up in the middle of the night to people talking about me when I was a baby, like, and she always thought, because Mom has puts a more of a like spiritual bent to this kind of stuff, like she always thought that there were some kind of beings that were here ever since I was born to watch over me. And she doesn't call them angels or anything like that. She just says that there are these beings that have been watching over me ever since I was a kid. And I don't know, because I come from a spiritual practice and tradition that deals with this kind of stuff. Because I practice Tibetan Buddhism, and this kind of stuff is talked about a lot, like beings from other planes of existence that can attach themselves to us, or beings that we've had karma with in past lives, and in this current incarnation they're just a formless entity, but since we still have a karmic attachment to them, we have to play this out until it's resolved. And you don't know what needs to be done to resolve the thing. And we talk a lot about like demons, and not in the like Christian sense. These demons that we talk about in Buddhism are just beings on another plane of existence.
Do you want this?
No thanks, I'm good for now. So when I started meditating, and I started working with a teacher, and I started practicing deeply and doing the more esoteric practices, and learning about Vajrayana and Tantra, my relationship to these experiences began to change. And through meditation, and through meditating earnestly in the traditional manner, through sitting with my mind in silence for long periods of time, and having these things come up and play themselves out in my mind, I've become very comfortable with it, and I have this different understanding of it now, because I think that there are other planes of existence, other realms, and they can all converge at the same time. They do all converge at the same time, and they're also separate at the same time. Like they defy logic. They defy any kind of earthly mathematics or physics, because these are like celestial planes, and we can access them sort of during different periods of our lives, depending on what practices we're doing or what just where we are. And I don't want to get like into like the whole like belief system and things like that. It's difficult to understand, and it's hard to put in layman's terms, but I don't see these things as afflictions. They're just experiences, and our minds are constantly having experiences. Our thoughts never stop, even when you don't hear them. And there's many layers of thought, and there's many connections in your brain that are all firing and going off constantly, and just perpetually never-ending like onslaught of thoughts and emotions are flowing through your mind at all times, even when you're asleep. And we just don't notice it all. But some people are able, for whatever reason, to tune into different channels at different points of the day or different points of their lives, and that is more like an ability than an affliction. Like when you might say right, it can even be used as a tool, but the way you might say that someone has psychic powers, right, a psychic ability, they're able to see the future or see the past, or like the past in places where they've never been before. I mean, like see back 200 years ago, or see tomorrow, and all the things that alleged psychics have been able to do, right? Like they have a power, and this is like part of that power or ability on the psychic spectrum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the fact that it's difficult for you to deal with right now. I mean, and that's what we need to work on. That's what I work on through practice, and through practice of the Dharma, my Buddhist practice, and meditating, and there's different avenues to this. But the thing we need to do the most is learn how to be okay with what we're experiencing, no matter how challenging it is. That's my path towards that, and that's what I'm experiencing now. I'm at a point in my life where things that were very challenging for me to deal with are no longer challenging. They exist, they're there, they haven't changed at all. The only thing that has changed is my ability to deal with the difficult emotions. It just doesn't bother me as much anymore. Like when we first had our son and we brought him home, and I was a dad for the first time, and dealing with a crying baby all by myself for the first time. It was the most difficult. Like, I'm choking up thinking about it, because that point in my life was so hard for me. But every time he would cry, he would just cry for hours and hours on end while Jen was gone. Just scream like you've never heard before. And it hurts when you're a parent and you hear your child screaming like that. Like, it physically hurts, and I could not deal with it. I couldn't deal with it. I was just breaking down. But about maybe a year in, as I continued practicing and I continued working with my mind, it didn't bother me as much anymore. I got used to it. I learned how to deal with it, because I needed to be in control and be there for him to help him. So if I'm affected by his crying, I can't show up as a father. And I realized that in my head. So I learned to, instead of coming at it with fear and sadness and anger and all these different emotions that your crying child, these different emotions that come up in you while you're listening to your child cry, instead of feeling that, I changed that emotion to compassion and love for him instead. So now when he cries, I feel love and I want to give that love to him. I don't feel anxious and sad and angry anymore. I learned how to deal with that. We can do the same thing with any difficult emotion. This technique can be applied in all realms of our lives. So when I began working on myself, and during that period of my time when I was a new father, I did a lot of working on myself, and I ended up being able to deal with the voices in my head and the scary noises and the things that would come up with me. And I still have deja vu, like the kind that you're describing, but it's not a typical deja vu. It's something really heavy and scary. And I deal with that too, interestingly enough, which is another strange commonality that makes me think that it has something to do with something other than mental health, or at least not completely mental health, right? So we can work on taming that, and so that's what I've done. I've tamed it.
I've always thought of the deja vu thing that I experience as something like spiritual, and I never really thought of it as like a challenge in my life, but it is really hard for me to talk about without crying, so maybe it is really challenging in some way. I don't know why, because it really doesn't bother me, but just saying things out loud always affects me even more than just thinking about them. Because I think about this stuff all the time, and it doesn't bother me, but then once I try to talk about it to someone else, I just get all shaky and stuff.
But it does bother you. Like, you choking up and shaking is your body telling you that it's bothering you. So maybe you compartmentalized it in your head, but it actually is bothering you in some sense. Or at least that's what it feels like on the receiving end of the stories. And you, I mean, you've come to me before needing help with this stuff. And so it clearly bothers you. And maybe you're just kind of covering up the fact that it bothers you with a different feeling. The feeling that it doesn't bother you, I guess, but you haven't actually dealt with the root cause of the suffering. You know what I mean? But I don't mean to psychoanalyze you, and if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. I'm not going to tell you that I know your mind better than you do, because I don't. I just think about this kind of stuff a lot. And I think about you, and I think about you dealing with it a lot, because I know we're going through the same thing. And you come to me and say, I'm having this difficult experience, and I'm having it too. You know what I mean? So I'm constantly thinking about this specific thing, and constantly like working on it, and like coming up with theories about it, and just like hyper fixating on it. So I have all of these like ideas in my head about it.
Well, I don't feel like I'm like suffering or struggling these days. I haven't like I tell people that I was basically depressed for the first 24 years of my life. Like that I had severe depression, and that I was suicidal, and that just all stopped around when I was like 24 or 25, and I went out on my own. I broke up with Autumn and got my own place, and just kind of, just You know what I'm saying, like, or I don't even know what I'm saying right now.
That's okay.
But I'm doing good these days. That's what I was saying. I haven't felt like towards the end of my like depression era was basically the worst, I guess. Yeah, I really felt like I was suffering, and I felt like I just saw suffering all around me.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I was in like a dark hole. And the only way I could get out of it was just by climbing out. So I just had to force myself out of it. I don't know.
How did you do that?
That's just willpower, I guess.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to be depressed anymore. But not everyone can do that, and I'm not really saying that I'm like, I don't feel like I have depression anymore. That's all I can say. I stopped seeing it as depression, for one.
Yeah. I mean, I disagree with you, though, that not everybody can do it. Like, what you're describing is what I call discipline. You know, it's a mental discipline. You came there spontaneously. I've worked really hard to try to get there through the practices that I do. It seems like it was more a little bit spontaneous for you, but it is a willpower, and anybody can do that. And there are techniques to help you achieve that. It is a skill that is built. Maybe you built it up a little bit at a time, just here and there, or maybe it just happened spontaneously for you, but it can happen to everybody. I think your idea of not calling it depression anymore is really important. When we recognize the inherent emptiness of these concepts, they lose their grasp on us, because we realize that it only is what you are making it. If depression is a painful experience for you, then it will be a painful experience for you. But you can make it a comfortable experience just by changing your attitude towards it. I don't see why. I know people have a hard time with this. I do. And I know there's the idea of not everybody being able to do it. And there's the idea of saying to a depressed person, it's all in your head, it's just willpower. Like, I know that offends people, but in reality, I think it is true. I think that you can do it. I mean, I'm doing it, and I've been on medication that didn't work. I've been in therapy that was not productive. And I've been through it all, and I got out of it on my own somehow. I mean, I know how for me personally. For me, it was through meditation, but I don't want to harp on that. I don't want to, I always come back to that just because it's such a big part of my life. But yeah, I don't know. But you're not bothered by it now?
Bothered by what specifically?
Your difficult emotions, your depression, it seems like you're bothered when you talk about it. But then when we're not talking about it, you seem fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, life is weird, and I just know that I've always been happiest alone, and for as long as I've been living alone, I've been making better changes for myself and trying to be a better person, because as soon as I started living alone, it was like I finally have what I've always wanted.
Yeah.
But I was still super depressed. It was like, here I am. I can make whatever I want of my life. So I gotta start doing that.
Yeah.
It's been slow progress because I'm still struggling with money.
Well, it is progress. Still, not everybody gets to that point where they can even decide to change their life like that, you know? I have a lot of friends that are in really difficult situations because, I was a drug addict at one point, and my relationships with people, they were with other drug addicts, because you don't really have relationships with sober people who are doing good with their lives when you are using hard drugs and engaging in criminal behavior. And I was really, really deep, so all my acquaintances were also really, really deep, and a lot of my friends were dying, and I lost a lot of people to drugs, and the very few people that I still have left, that I don't have relationships with them anymore, but I still love them, especially one friend of mine who I love with all my heart and soul. He's still in a bad situation, but I changed somehow, and yeah, not everybody gets to the place where they can decide to make a change, but I got there and you got there, and I think the fact that we got there is really cause to celebrate. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. This is going to be the longest Milk Roots podcast ever.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know how much of this you're going to keep in, but I think it's important for people to hear this kind of stuff. I didn't know we were going to talk about such heavy stuff today, but I think that it's been really cathartic and really good for us to talk about, and I think it would be really good for other people to hear at least some of it. You could do some skillful editing, but
I'll probably leave all of this in.
You want to ask the computer to get you some coffee?
Oh, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Computer, can you get us some coffee, please? Thank you. So, I think Milk Roots wanted us to play some music for his podcast.
Alright, sounds good. We already have these guitars.
Yeah.
So... but we're not in the same key.
Right.